Okay, so in this video, I'm going to give you an explanation of how I prepared the Excel worksheet for our assignment. I don't have a problem with you doing your Excel assignment exactly how I do it over here. Obviously, you have to do it on your own, but you can look at this this video and copy it, and you can see the formulas that I do up here. I'm going to explain everything that I did. My main purpose is for you to get started with Excel if you haven't used it before, and so for you to get familiarized. And I know that just by looking at this video and replicating it, you're going to learn a lot, and you're going to understand the powerful uses that Excel has. Excel is a program that's used a lot in the business world. It's very complementary to other systems. Sometimes it's used to accommodate for shortfalls in other systems. I know that in my personal work experience, I use Excel a lot to overcome limitations on our accounting system. I worked for a company that had a very poor accounting system, and so our management would ask us for reports constantly. Ad hoc reports, managerial type of reports, and the accounting system wasn't able to put them together. And so what I saw was that a lot of the accountants were putting these together manually, and it would take them for a long time. So one of the things that I did was I used Excel to automate the process, to make it a lot faster. What I'm going to show you today is sort of an example of this. And you can go ahead and apply this to various other situations in the business world. So this is a very simple example for you to understand the type of issues that Excel could help you overcome. So if you're not familiarized with Excel, I strongly suggest that you do. It's used in pretty much every aspect of the business world, and it's going to make you a lot more marketable, okay? So this is, let me first show you what I did. This tab here just shows you the problem that I'm asking you for you to do. And let me just show you my final output, okay? Let's see. Okay, so if I click here, I have my final output. See how nice and neat it is, created for management. Here you have the income statement in absorption format. Absorption format requires cost of goods sold, which includes both fixed and variable components in it, and selling and administrative expenses, which require both fixed and variable expenses in it. And so, and this is the one that is GAAP, complies with GAAP, the one that will be presented in the actual public financial statements. But oftentimes management like to decompose and break out their variable costs from their fixed costs. Notice how the variable income statement separates all variable costs from all fixed costs. An analysis that can't be done without this type of information, for example, is the break-even analysis. In order to do a good break-even analysis, you have to understand what all your variable expenses are and what your fixed cost is. So this statement is very useful for a lot of managerial analysis, and so it's very important to be able to create this statement as well, along with the absorption income statement. Okay, so let me just explain how I did the whole program. Another feature that I added to this, notice that this is March. If I want the January data, I just click here in the drop down menu, I pull January, and you can see how my data changes from, you can see that January has 40,000. Let's see February. February now has operating income of 36. Notice how both statements have the same income from operations, okay? They shouldn't be different, or else you did something wrong. And March has 39,600. So I'll show you how to do all these features in this video, okay? Let's go ahead and let's read the instructions. It says you are a consultant for AVAX Corporation, okay? So the AVAX Corporation hired you. The CFO has approached you with an issue. Whenever she requests data in a different format current employees proceed to manually create them with very little automation to the process, okay? So the CFO asks for some data in a different format. Let's say, for example, the CFO asks for the variable income statement, but the accounting system only puts out the absorption statement. So an accountant comes in and starts typing the different numbers. First, the accountant or analyst tries to decompose this into these categories, and then once they decompose the numbers into these categories here for variable format, they start typing it in. So that's very time consuming, right? She says, for example, every month I request the income statement in the variable format. Our accounting system is designed to create the income statement in the absorption format. This typically takes our accountant 2 hours to recreate, okay? Because the accountant is just doing it manually, typing the numbers in variable format. Can you use any complementary system, such as Excel, to automate the process? If successful, your contract will be extended to automate various other functions like this one currently done manually, okay? So I take this from personal experience. I worked for a company that, like I said, had accountants and analysts doing a lot of reports manually, just typing the numbers in manually. Very tedious, long process. The information was already there in the accounting system. All you had to do was put it in a different format, and so I started to automate all these files that they were doing, all these reports that they were doing. Okay. The accounting in its raw data is provided below. Okay, so they provide us with the raw data here. This is the data that comes out of the accounting system. Okay, your task is to prepare an Excel file that will automatically create 2 income statements, one in absorption format and one in variable. This file should increase corporate efficiency. Okay, so I say here that you may see my video on Blackboard and follow the steps just as in the video. The video I'm talking about is the one that I'm doing right now. Alternatively, you may create your own unique file as long as it does the job. That's fine. If you do your own file your own way, that's great. As a matter of fact, if you do your own file your own way, I'll give you 5 extra points, okay? Or if you take this one and you add extra features to it that enhance the file, make it even better, I'll give you 5 extra points. Because in Excel, you could do the same thing in various ways. There's no one single way to do something, okay? So you may be able to do an output just like this using other formulas and using other methodologies. You don't have to necessarily follow this one. But if you're new in Excel and you don't want to go ahead and try to reinvent what I already did here, you can just look at this video and try to recreate it step by step. Okay, I'm sure you're going to learn a lot just by doing that. So this is the final output that we want to create, right? Like I said, it shows you the absorption income statement, it shows you the variable income statement, and it shows it in its proper format. Furthermore, I added another neat feature that could update the months for the CFO if she wants to look at the different months. So that's pretty neat, right? So let me show you how I did this, okay? I did this using 1, 2, 3, and 4 tabs. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create 4 blank tabs so that we can replicate what I have in these 4 tabs. Okay, let me go and create 4 tabs. 1, by clicking here you create a tab. 2, 3, and 4. So I've created 4 tabs. Let me go ahead and move them to the front. I want to move them to the front because I like it in that position. It doesn't really matter where you have them. So I'll click on this one. I'll press on the Shift button and I'll click on the 4th one. And now it's highlighted all 4. And I'll grab them and I'll move them over to the front. Okay, so I have them all in the front. Let me do something else. Let me give them a different color so that I'm 100% sure which one it is. So I will right click on my mouse. I'll go tab color and I will give them this really dark blue color. Okay, so it only did it for that one, so let me go ahead and do it for this one too. Right click, blue. Over here, right click, blue, and over here, right click and blue. Okay, let me give them their names just like I have here, but you can't give it the exact name or else, well, you'll see. So let me double click here. Look what happens when I give it the exact name, raw data. If I go like that, I'm going to get an error message. See, cannot rename a sheet the same name as another sheet. Okay, so click OK, and what I'll do is I'll put a little number 2 right here, and that should just solve the problem for me. So this is raw data 2. This is where I'm going to recreate all the files that the tabs that I already have done over here. Let me do this one for categories, and I'll explain what each of these tabs do. Categories, remember I have to put a 2. We'll do summarized data here. Summarized data over here. And, oops, I forgot to put the 2. Summarized data. 2. And this is going to be output 2. Okay, so now we have the 4 tabs that we're going to work with, and I'll explain what each tab is for. The first tab I call raw data. Okay, this is the tab where the accountant, this is the only tab the accountant has to touch. Okay, and all I ask for the accountant to do is to copy paste the accounting information data here. Most accounting systems are going to, you can export or you can import the financial data either in text file or Excel file, and you'll have them ready for you. So all the accountant has to do is import this data in text or Excel file and take it and copy paste it in this tab. Okay, so in your instructions you have it over here. Let's see if I can copy paste this. So I highlight everything, I copy. Let me go to the raw data. I put it over here and I paste. Okay, and then I could double click here to make the columns wider. Double left click with your mouse. Okay, if you double left click with your mouse, it'll make the columns wide enough to see everything. Let me make it even a little wider, just so that. Okay, so this is the tab where the accountant is going to copy paste their data, and every month they'll copy paste new data over here. So January, February, March, April, they'll copy paste another data, March, April, May, June, July, etc. for the full year. And so that's going to permit the accountant just to paste this data, and once the accountant does that, they're going to automatically have the output here that they desire, and that's all they have to do. And so we've virtually converted a process that takes maybe an hour to do into a process that takes 1 minute to do. Okay, but before that we need to start preparing the tabs to create this Excel file. Okay, second tab says categories. Why do I want this tab called categories? Okay, let's go back to the tab that's already done. Okay, this is the absorption. As a matter of fact, I'm going to just go ahead and copy this whole tab over here so that I could explain it to you. Okay, so that's that tab. Okay, so you want to create an absorption costing income statement, and you want to create a variable costing income statement, right? As you can see, this one is the absorption and this one is the variable. And so in order to know what I want to create, I went to my PowerPoint slides from the class and I copy pasted the absorption and the variable costing income statement so that I could have a guide as to what I want to recreate. Okay, now notice that the labels in your accounting system, these labels are different than the labels that you have for absorption, and for variable. So we want to create a table that tells the system where each of the accounting titles goes as far as the income statement goes. So you want to create two. You want to create one for absorption and one for variable. Why? Because they have different titles, right? Or labels, whatever you want to call it. Okay? So I start by taking my accounting data over here, and I'm going to copy paste it here. That's all this is. This is this exact same thing. Copy paste it here and copy paste it down here. Okay, they're both the same thing. Okay, and I'm going to tell them the equivalent of this label in my accounting system to the label in my absorption format or my variable format. So I'll start with the absorption format. Okay, so let me just highlight this just to make our lives a little easier. So this is my absorption format. So I'm telling it that revenues will go into the category called sales. Cost of goods sold variable goes into the category called cost of goods sold, right? Because cost of goods sold has both the variable and the fixed component of cost of goods sold, right? So cost of goods fixed also goes into the cost of goods sold. Shipping cost goes into selling and administrative expense, which is right here. Sales commission goes into selling and administrative expense, which is right here. Marketing expense goes into sales and selling and administrative expense. So they go, all these roll into this one category. They roll into the same category, okay? So that's all we're doing here. And you'll see why I need this information in a second. So now we're going to do the one for the variable costing system. And let me give this a different color. I mean, you don't have to do this. I'm just trying to be organized so that it's easier for you to see. Okay. Well, this is a little too dark. I don't like this color. Let's change it to something a little lighter. Let's see, something like this might be better. Okay. Cool. So now we're going to do the same thing. These labels up here are exactly the same as these down here, right? They're the same ones that come from the accounting system, but this time I'm going to tell it what label it goes to in the variable costing. So revenues is the same. It's going to go under sales. Notice how under the variable costing system, the variable expenses are separated from the fixed, right? Under absorption, they're both together, but under variable, they're different. So cost of goods sold variable is going to go under variable cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold fixed is going to go under fixed manufacturing costs. Okay? Fixed manufacturing costs. So that's a difference from where it went over here. Shipping cost is a variable selling and administrative expense. Okay? And I have if you don't know where each of these go, all you have to do is go look at the cost classification chart that's also on Blackboard, and it'll tell you where each of these, what each of these are, what type of expenses they are. Okay? Sales commission is a variable selling and administrative expense. Okay? So sales commission is a variable selling and administrative expense. It will fall in this category down here. Marketing expense is a fixed selling and administrative. I'm sorry, I said sales commission was in the variable, and I said down here, I was wrong. It's up here. Variable selling and administrative expense, okay? Now, all these down here are fixed selling and administrative expense, and they all go down here on this one, okay? So notice how we'll have the same exact numbers that we have here, but they're going to be distributed differently under the absorption costing system than under the variable costing system. Okay, so we want to create a file that's going to automatically organize it for me without me having to do this every single month on a manual basis. Okay, so now I have my labels. Now let's go ahead and organize that data. Okay, this is probably the sheet where you're gonna work the most. Okay, and let me just see what I did, because I am not I can't remember. I did this a while back, so let's see. And as I said, Excel files, you could do them all very differently. So the first thing I want to do is I want to pull all my labels from the raw data sheet in one column, and then I'm going to look up. I'm going to do an H lookup and pull in the financials. Okay, so let's go over here and let's do that. Let me try to remember. Okay, I just did a very simple formula. Okay, so all I did was I put equals and I pointed to the exact same cell over here so that I could pull whatever I have there. Okay, it has a 0, so that tells me that there was no data there, but I want to leave the 0 there, because you don't know, in the future you might add more accounting labels, so you want to know where it stops. Okay, so you don't want to limit your formulas here. So I'm going to copy paste my formula. I could go all the way down to the bottom as far as I want to go. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so now I know that this tab here has data that goes from row 2 to row 11. If in the future I add another category, let's say I add the category some other, let's say I add miscellaneous expense, and I copy paste it into the system, it'll pick it up over here, right? So that's why I want to keep those formulas all the way down, just in case I add more accounts in the future. Let's go ahead and delete this. And so we have 0. Okay, so now we want to pull in the data. Okay, we want to pull in the actual financials over here. But I'm going to use an H lookup. Why do I want to use an H lookup? Because I have various columns, so I want to be able to tell my formula over here which column to use. So one of the things that I'm going to do, let me do this for now. I'm going to copy paste this. I'm going to go ahead and copy paste this heading over here, which is important to copy paste the exact same heading. I'm going to change this later on, because I want to link, later on I want to link this to, let me show you in this one better. Later on I want to link this to my output file over here, so when I change that over there, it'll change over here. But for now, let's just do it. Let's leave it hard-coded, and then we'll link it later. Okay? And now we're going to do an H lookup. Okay? In order to do an H lookup, all you have to do is press on this FX. It gives you all the formulas that are available in Excel. Okay? You press FX, you'll notice H lookup here is the second one. If you don't see it there, just type the word H lookup and press go. And there it is. H lookup stands for horizontal lookup. Okay, so you're going to look horizontally. And it says, what value do I want to look at? And you're going to click here. Look for this. One thing that you want to do is you want to lock this cell. If you don't lock this cell up, when you copy paste down, it's going to change. We don't want this to change. We want this to be B1. We want it to be this cell for all the formulas down here. One way to change this is to put a $sign here and a $sign there. In my computer, all I have to do is press my function, press the button function Fn and F4, and it does it for you. Some computers are Shift F4. If you're having problems, just manually put the $signs. Okay, so that locks that formula there. Okay, so I want to tell it the table. What table do I want? Well, I want this table over here, right? The raw data table. Let's see if I click here if it gives me the whole thing. Okay, it gives me the whole table, but this is going to look in the first row of this table. It's going to look for whatever B1 was. In this case, B1 over here in my summarized data tab was the same one that I have here, January 16, right? And I might have to lock this as well. So for me, function S4 will lock that up. Okay, so now I'm coming back here and I say, which one do I want? What row do I want? Now for now, I want to pull the second row, right? Because it would be this one here. It's the second number of that row. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put number 2. Let me take this out. Give me the second row. And then last but not least, you have to put the word false, right? If you put the word true, it's going to give you a close match. If you put the word false, it's going to find an exact match. You want to find an exact match because we're dealing with exactness here. Let's put it that way. You don't want something that's close. Okay? So there you go. Now you got your 2,200,000. So it's pulling the right data in. Okay? It's pulling the 2,200,000. So let's go ahead and format this and make it look like a number. You go like this. You right click. You put format cells. You make it look like a number. Give me a comma. And let's take away those 2 cents. Okay? And that's it. Now watch what's going to happen when I copy paste down. First of all, let's say I didn't have this locked in. Watch what's going to happen. Let's say I didn't have it locked in. If I don't have it locked in, it's perfectly fine. It gives me the right number. But what happens when I copy paste down? It's going to give me errors, right? Why? Because my B1 now became B2. It changes. It changes as you go down. This becomes B3, B4. That's why you have to lock it in so that it won't move. Okay? If you lock it in, the B1 will always stay B1. I'm sorry, I didn't. Okay, now I really messed this up. Let's take this. If you lock it in, the B1 will stay locked. It's not going to shift as you copy down. Okay, but I'm going to have to fix something else. Okay, but now it's giving me 2,200,000 on every cell. That's wrong, right? I don't have 2,200,000. I want it to give me this numbers. So what happened? What went wrong there? Well, it's giving me the second one in the row, the second number of the row. Okay, so I have to fix that, right? If I come over here and I say give me 3, then it's going to give me the third one. So the third row, which is correct, right? If I say give me number 4 here, it'll give me the 4th row, 730, right? So that was the problem. You had to change the row that you are pulling from, because the rows here match the rows here. I have a way to overcome this. If you do the formula, type the formula in equals row, that's going to give you the row that this is in, number 2, right? If I copy paste down, it's going to give you row number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7. It gives me the row, right? So what if I take this little formula and I put it within this formula? Let's try that. So instead of putting the number 2, I'm going to take the number 2 out and I'm going to put row, open parentheses, close parentheses. Okay, let's see what happens when I copy paste down. Perfect, because this will adjust for every single row it's on. So now this is a 2, this is a 3, this is a 4, the row. If you don't believe me, let's do this. This is going to give me row 4. Let's take all this out and just leave row. And you'll see that it's going to give me a number 4, which is what I want. Right? So now I have all this problem solved. Now it's giving me this row here. Now if I change from January 16 and I change to February 16, let me do copy and paste it over here. Paste. You see how it changed all the numbers? So that's working, right? But later on, we're going to go ahead and link it to my output tab so that it could change, so that I could put the change in my output tab, not here. Okay, so we already did this. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to put each one here into, let's take a look at what I did here before I continue. Okay, so I created, so I pointed each one of these accounting labels and I'm going to put it into the absorption. I'm going to say what label it goes into in absorption and what label it goes into variable, right? In variable. Okay, so let's come back over here. Let me try to do this exactly how I did it over there. So let me go ahead and let me just fill this in just to show you. Okay, I did that, and I think I did it here, and then I did absorption, and then I think I did something like this. Absorption, this is going to be my absorption format, and this is going to be my variable format. Okay, and then I'm going to use a VLOOKUP now, and I'm going to use these labels here to know which category this is over here. So let's do a VLOOKUP, right? I think I use a VLOOKUP. Let me make sure. Yes, I use a VLOOKUP. Okay. Just to bring in the proper category under absorption. Let's bold this and underline it. And let's bold this and underline it just like I did before. Okay, so now let's do a VLOOKUP. That's a vertical lookup. And I'm going to look at this and going to bring here the proper absorption label. Okay, remember we already identified the proper absorption label over here and the proper variable costing label over here. So that's not going to be hard to do. So again, you come over here and you put function. You have the VLOOKUP over here. If you can't find the VLOOKUP, just type in VLOOKUP. That stands for vertical lookup, because now we're going to look for we're going to look vertically. Okay, instead of horizontally, we're going to look for the labels vertically. Okay, so it says look up what value. Well, I want to look up this value, revenues. Okay. And I'm not going to lock this because I want this to change. I want the A2 to become A3 when I copy it down. Because I want to look up, in the next one, I want to look up cost of goods sold, variable cost of goods sold fixed. So I'm not going to lock this up. Where am I going to look for this? Well, in the table of absorption, right? I already created that table. So let me just put the table here. Now this I want to lock because I don't want this table to change when I copy down. So either function F4 or shift F4. If you're having trouble, just put the just remember to put the dollar signs in front of each one of these, and that'll solve your problem. Okay, so it's going to look up. So it's going to look up A2, which was over here. It's going to look this up for me. It's going to look it up in this little table over here, right here. I already identified it. And what row do I want? I mean, what column do I want? The VLOOKUPs you I'm sorry, why does this say HLOOKUP? I made a mistake. This is not an HLOOKUP. I realized that because it says row. It's supposed to say column. Okay, somehow let's do this again. It's very similar. You see, I use HLOOKUP. I don't want HLOOKUP. I want a VLOOKUP. It should say column. Okay. So, but it's the same thing. Okay. So look up A2. Look it up. Oh, sorry. Look up A2. I don't need this. I don't like that. Take that out. I don't need that. Look up A2. Look for it over here. Let's go ahead and lock it up with function F4. And look, and give me what is in the second column, right? Column number 2. And it's always going to be column number 2. So in that case, I could hard code it because that's not going to change. And then again down here, I'm going to put false because I want an exact match. If you don't find an exact match, don't give me anything. I want it to be exact. Okay? So revenues, under the absorption, the equivalent label is sales, right? Because this is looking up, this is saying, look for revenues over here and give me whatever I have in the second column of the range that I identified. Okay. Now if I copy paste down, you will see that it's going to pull in the proper label under absorption. So cost of goods sold A3. It's going to look it up in this table, which I already showed you right here, cost of goods sold variable, and it's going to give me what's in the second column, which is cost of goods sold, right? Same thing here. Look up A4, which is this one. Look it up where? Categories 2, A3 to B13, which is here. And give me what's in the second column, which is cost of goods sold. Okay, so it's pulling in all the absorption format labels, and it's tying in the accounting labels to where they belong under the absorption format. Okay, so now this is very easy. All I have to do is put the numbers here, right? These are the numbers that go there. So now I have these numbers organized under the proper absorption format label, right? You can see revenues goes under sales. These two go in the same category, cost of goods sold, and all these go in the same category, selling and administrative. Okay, we're going to do the same thing for the variable format. Okay, we're going to do another VLOOKUP function. VLOOKUP, look up revenues. In what table? Well, we need to change the table now, right? We need to take the bottom portion, which is the one that identifies my variable costing system. Look it up there. Let's go and lock this, either function F4 shift or shift F4, and I want column 2 of that range, and let's put false here because I want an exact match. Okay, so it's going to give me sales because sales is the same for both, right? Sales. But watch how this one is going to come out. It's going to give me variable cost of goods sold. If I take this and I copy and I paste it down, now it's going to give me variable cost of goods sold for this one, fixed manufacturing for this one. So it's assigned the proper labels under variable format because it's looking at this table down here to assign it. Okay? So now it's assigned the proper labels, and now all I have to do is pull in the right number. Notice how, let me double click because that's a little bit too big. Okay, so now it's pulling the numbers over here under the variable format. Okay, so we did this tab. This tab is pretty much done. So now let's work on the output tab. Notice how, as I told you, if you change these numbers and these numbers, they're all going to change. So let me take, for example, let's put March. Notice, let's put March up here, and you'll see how everything changes. Paste. See, everything changes. Now it's pulling the March data from over here because all my formulas are saying, first of all, this formula says look for March, the HLOOKUP. So that's going to look March, and everything will flow through properly, okay? So last but not least, we're going to do the output tab, okay? For the output tab, I'm going to go ahead and copy paste. Let's just do this first because most of this is just typing in the format, right? So let's paste this and let's take all this out so that I can show you how this is done. Delete, and I do want to take this out because this is important. I want to show you how this is done as well. Okay, and let's delete this and let's delete this. Okay, so all this is done simply by typing. You're gonna have to type this in the first time. Okay, you did the absorption format very nice and neat with bolds and italics and bold and underlines. Here you can find your underlining however you want it. For example, this is a one line with two lines, so that would be this one down here. Okay, so you have to type all this initially. Okay, you'll go ahead and type that in. Okay, and then one of the first things that you want to do is you want to create a list. What is this list going to do? This list is going to permit the user to choose the month that they want. Okay, so you go ahead and you put your cursor on A1. That's where we're going to create it, and let's give it a nice color just so that people know that that's the drop down menu that they're going to choose from. So how do we create a drop down menu? You go to data here and you go to data validation. You see here it says any value. Go and change that to list because you're going to create a list. Okay, now it's telling you you could type in the list that you want. What do I want my user to have a choice for? Well, I want them to have a choice for, let me cancel this temporarily. I want them to be able to choose one of the months, right? That's what I want them to be able to choose. So the months, and you want to put it in the exact same format. So this is 1/16/2016, 2/16/2016, and 3/16/2016. Okay. So let me take this and let me do this real quick. See if it works. Let me copy this and have this in my copy memory for a second. Okay. So data validation list. Let's see if this works. Paste. Okay, so I pasted the month of January, but we want to create a list. So do a comma, and let me put 2/16/2016. That was for February. Let's put 3/16. Why does it have 16? I don't know exactly why it has 16, but you have to put it exact. It should be 1. Let me do something here. Let me cancel this. Why does it have 16? Let's just 1/1. Let's make this 1/1/2016. And let me go ahead and format this. 1/1/2016 date. And let's go ahead and maybe we could okay, I like it like this better. Okay, 1/1/2016. Let's just pretend that the accounting labels were like this. (2/1/2016) and 3/1/2016. Don't worry about this section. This comes from the accounting system, but I like it like this better. 1/1/2016, 2/1/2016, and 3/1/2016. The point is you have to copy paste the exact same labels. Okay, so data validation list, and then we have 1/1/2016, 2/1/2016, right? 312016, and we could even put more just in case in the future. 2016. But we need to make sure that what we put here is going to be exactly the same as what your accounting system gives you as an output. So you got to make sure that it matches, okay? So type in whatever you see there once you copy paste it, okay? And I don't know what you're going to see. You may have to put 1/16/2016. Okay, 5/1/2016. Okay, so now you've created a list. And what does this list do? This list permits you to choose. See, now I could choose 1/1/2016, 2/1/2016, 3/1/2016, 4/1/2016. To make it easier on the eyes, let's go ahead and right click, format cells, and let's make it look exactly how the other one looked. I think it was like this, right? Yes, right? So now it looks exactly like this. Let me come over here to the instructions and try to understand why. I see why it gave me 1/1/16, because the instructions has 1/1/16, but that probably should be changed up here. I don't know exactly why that happened, but again, just make sure that the labels that you have here match the labels that you create on your list, or else it's not going to work, okay? So now I know that the labels match, right? If I look at January of 2016, it says 1/1/2016. My raw data says 1/1/2016. So it matches. It's probably going to work. Okay. So now I want to give this give the title, the date, so that it tells the user exactly what date we're pulling in. And then we're going to start pulling in the data, sales, right? Now, if you come over here, oops, it gives me an error because I did not change this, right? This was now changed to a 1. So everything has to match in order for it to pull. If the titles don't match, you're going to get an error, okay? So let's say, we have here, so now I have this over here. Now I want to link. You see now, see how it's pulling March data? It's pulling the March data, right? But I want to link it to the output here. I want it to pull whatever I asked for over here. So how do we overcome that problem? Well, that's going to be overcome very easily. I just come over here, and instead of having it hard-coded, I put an equals sign, and I link it to here. Okay, why is it not doing anything? Let's do this again. Let's give it another try. Equals. I have no idea why it didn't want to. For whatever reason, it doesn't want to go there. So just click it down and put it up. So equals output to A1. That's all you have to do. Oh, I think I know why I didn't want to go up there, because I had my cursor up there. Okay. So let's try that again. Let me take my cursor away from there. Okay. Equals A1. Okay. So that's it. Now it's linked. Now if I change, see how it's pulling January data? If I change my data from January to February, it's going to change over here to February. If I change it to March, it's going to change over here to March. And this is going to pull March. This data will change according to whatever I have here. Watch what happens if I put April. If I put April, it's going to give me nothing. Why? Because I have no April here. But that's okay, because you want to have it ready. Because come April, your accountant is going to copy paste the month of April here, and now April is going to show up. Let's make a fake April here. And once April shows up, let's just put some fake numbers. It will actually pull the month of April. See, now it has April. So you do want to go ahead and prepare months ahead. You might want to put all 12 months of 2016 on the list. That way the file is done for a full year, and all your accountant has to do is copy paste, and as the months come up, it'll be pasted here, and you won't get that error message anymore. Okay, so anyways, so let me pull this back to another month where I have data, January. Okay, so now it's pulling my January data. Okay, so let's do the absorption format. One thing that you notice here is that there sometimes are more than one category, right? So how do I overcome this issue? I can't say cost of goods sold equals this, right? No, right? I could say cost of goods sold equals this plus this, right? And that'll work. That's going to give me the sum. But I have a better way to do that. A way in which you can check everything. And that's called the SUMIF formula. Okay? So let's go ahead and use the SUMIF formula. And I'll show you what that formula does. Okay, let's go to function. Let's go to SUMIF and do OK. So this is the range. And this is the criteria. Okay. So the range, I guess the range that I need is over here. And I'm going to look at this full column here. That's going to be my range. And let's go ahead and lock that in. I think I'm doing this right. The criteria is this, sales. So if I have sales, look at this column it's saying, and wherever you find the label sales, add everything under this column. Okay? And let's lock that up as well. And that should work. So I should get 2,200. So the SUMIF says, SUMIF. Look into this range here. If it has this label here, sales, sum everything that has the label sales. So in this case, I only have one label for sales, right? But in the cost of goods sold, I have two. So you're going to see how it's going to sum both of them up, okay? So if I go copy, paste, I get 1,430, right? Which is the summation of these two. It's because it's saying, look at this column here. Give me A8 and sum up everything under this column here for A8. Okay? And let's go ahead and put that line which was erased, just so that it could look nice. Okay? Gross profit is just a formula. What's gross profit? Gross profit equals sales minus cost of goods sold. So we'll go ahead and put that formula in there and format it properly. You could bold and italicize, okay? And then here, you're going to have to do a SUMIF as well, right? Because we have a whole bunch here. It's going to have to sum these up. So let's do the SUMIF over here. All I have to do is copy paste, and the formula will work, right? So SUMIF selling and administrative expenses, and that should be 730,000. So it's going to sum these up. Okay? And this should sum up to 730,000. If you don't believe me, let's do a quick sum, auto sum. Let's sum. We'll sum that up, and it's 730,000. Okay? So it did the summation correctly. And income from operations is going to be this minus this. Okay, so you have your format over there. Perfect. Now we'll do the variable income statement. And we're going to do the exact same thing, right? Function, SUMIF. Oops, there it is. The SUMIF is the first one because that's the last one I use. What's my range? Well, I want to change the range now. I want to come over here and look at this range over here. And let's lock that in. Shift F4 or Function F4. Criteria. Well, we want to look at sales in this cell. And the sum range is going to be over here. This is my sum range, right? And let's lock that in. And so it's going to be the same thing, okay? Now I copy paste down. Variable cost of goods sold is 700,000. Let me just double check to see. Yes, 700,000. So that's good. Let me put the line underneath. The manufacturing margin is simply this minus this. Variable selling and administrative, you're going to have to use the SUMIF formula again. Okay, and it says 27,000. Let's see how true that is. 27,000. These two together, right? 27,000. So I did it right. And then contribution margin is nothing more than this minus this, right? Now we'll do the fixed cost. Copy. Fixed manufacturing cost, 730. Is that true? 730 fixed manufacturing cost. Yes. And then again, copy paste down here. Fixed selling and administrative should be 703. And that again is the SUMIF formula. 703. If you add these up, it's going to give you 703. So that's correct. And the bottom line should be the same. It should be 40,000. So I take this, my contribution margin minus my fixed costs, right? Just do that formula. And there you go. So here you have the statement fully recreated. If the CFO wants to see January, they click up here for January. If they want to see February, they click and the numbers will change automatically. If they want to see March, they click over here and the numbers will change automatically. And if they want to see April and they go over here, oh, I got an error message. Why? Well, because the month of April is not available yet. We don't have that data. Once it becomes available and you put April over here, it'll work. Remember, this is very key. This is the accounting data. So whatever the accounting labels give you over here, you must make sure that those are the exact same labels that you put here on your list, or else it's not going to work because the system is looking for this number. Okay, the system is looking for this. This number goes over here, right? Which in turn is being looked at for over here. So if you don't have it exactly the same, it's not going to work. So what I suggest is that you just simply take whatever you have over here, whether it's, you see I have 1/1/2000, whether it's 1/1/2016 or 1/16/2016, and make sure that it matches the list that you created over here. Okay? Last but not least is a big pet peeve of mine. You know, you have people that create these great programs and then they send them over to the CFO or CEO, and the CFO and CEO print it out, and what they get is a bunch of papers poorly formatted. So if you click up here, you're gonna see a print preview. You see the print preview? That's poorly formatted because I have half of my report there. So let's format this properly. Let's go back to the Home tab. Go to Page Layout. Maybe instead of making it portrait, I want to make it landscape. Okay, now the landscape covers everything. Okay, you could also, maybe I want to, so let's take a look at the print preview. Now that's much better, right? Let's take this out. That's not necessary. So let's go over here and let's go to View, Page Break Preview. It gives you the page break. You could click OK here to take that out. Now put your cursor over that and just pull this down. So this is what it's going to print. Okay, and click normal again just so that we can look at it normal again. So now this is what it's going to print. So let's do a print preview, and there you can see that the print preview is correct. And now you have a nicely formatted report to give to your CFO or CEO or whoever that is. Okay, And so that's about it. I hope you've learned a lot from this. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask me. But Excel is definitely a very valuable tool. One thing that you might want to do later on in the future, simply hide these tabs. These tabs are already done. There's no need for the accountant or anybody else to see them. So you could take this one, you click on it, then you left click on it to choose it, then you right click and you could hide it. This one too, you right click and you hide it. Okay, so now all your accountant has is the raw data tab and the output tab. Okay, and that's it. You may want to even protect this to make sure that nobody messes around with it. So you could highlight it and you can, let's see if I protect all this here. Alright, let's right click, format cells, protection, and you could protect it. I'm not going to go into that, but you could protect the cells so that nobody could mess them up for you. That way, if you protect it, you'll go. Somebody tries to type on it, it won't permit them to do that. But I'm not going to do that. Don't worry about that. Okay, so that's it. That's the Excel assignment. Feel free to copy this step by step. Obviously, I'm not going to give you the Excel file, if you know, because that would be a little too much. But you could copy as every step by step that I did in the video. And I hope you've learned a lot in this assignment. Thanks.